Hey, welcome to Genre Exposure, a film podcast. Join us as we explore the wide world of cinema, broadening our horizons one movie at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dustin, and as usual, I am here with Jason.
Hey, everybody.
What is up, my dude?
You know, hanging in. Went to the theater recently, braved the theater to go see a movie that I will talk about directly.
Me too, and I will do the same.
Excellent, excellent.
But we're here today for something else. A little film called Of Unknown Origin. Was it 1983?
83. Canadian flick.
George Cosmatos.
Cosmatos.
Father of Panos Cosmatos.
Yes. He of the strange, weird, fucked up movies. And Cosmatos Sr. has some fun movies too.
He does, yeah. He's done more than I thought in the range of like... He's covered a lot of genre ground,
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
He's kind of been everywhere.
Which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to talk about what we've been watching, do all that other fun stuff. And we are part of the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, and we love it. And there's all kinds of other cool shows you can go listen to, check out, see what they're up to, see what they're doing. Find you some cool movies to watch that you've never seen before, and enjoy them.
Yeah.
So go give all that a look. We'll always have the link on every episode. Show some love.
Yep. Check it out.
Now, what have you been watching?
Okay, well, I got a couple I'll talk about real quick.
Cool.
So I watched a found footage horror flick,
Oh.
which they are so rarely good, but I have such a weakness for them. I just
Even
do.
if it's like 1 star, I'll still watch it and be like, I mean, that was shitty, but okay.
All right, because they're usually not that long, you know, and it,
Just makes the pill go down so easy.
but so I watched a video recently like about the best like underseen found footage horror films, and this was on the list, and it's called Horror in the High Desert.
Oh, I've heard of this and I've never watched it.
This is from 2021, and I think there's 2 sequels so far.
Oh.
I don't know how connected they are. From the synopses, they don't sound that connected.
Is this like a to-be watch kind of deal, or?
Totally. Yeah. No. I think this is on Shudder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the blurb is, the description is, in July 2017, an outdoor enthusiast went missing in northern Nevada. He was never located. Friends and loved ones recall the events and, for the first time, talk about the horrific conclusion to his fate. That's a cool premise. I
like it.
I like the whole mockumentary approach.
Love a desert setting myself, so that's points for that.
And this does a good job of presenting itself as a mockumentary. It's not like entirely convincing, but you know, it does a pretty good job. Directed and written by Dutch Marioch, Merrick, I think is how you pronounce his last name.
Okay.
Maybe Marich. I don't know, one of those. Anyway. Yeah, I don't really get the love for this one. It seems to me like it's loosely based on a popular YouTuber hiker guy. I forget his name.
Oh, is it the guy that like fell down the mine shaft, they think? Or maybe committed suicide
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever?
the guy who was looking for the M cave.
Yeah.
He said he found it and he felt weird, and everyone was like, "Oh, we'll go back and find it, dude. Record it."
Yeah.
So
It's a very interesting story, and I'll actually, if I can find a good like summary video or something, maybe try to put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Interesting series of events.
Right. So it's very much along those veins.
Cool.
It has a cool premise because this character, he finds like this weird cabin out in the middle of nowhere, like where there should not be a cabin.
And then there's audio tapes.
Right. Right. And it's the same thing because he sees it, but he didn't record it the first time. And he talks about it on his vlog. And everyone's like, well, dude, go see it. Go find it. Record it.
Nice.
So he does it, and bad things ensue. And so that has kind of a creepy setting. There's some potential there, but it's just, the payoff is just, it's not there. You know, it's very much a letdown, especially as hyped as this movie kind of was. So at the end of the day, I cannot recommend it.
Okay.
It has its followers, obviously. I mean, it's got 2 damn sequels. And maybe they're better. I don't know. I'm kind of morbidly curious. I might check those out and report back at a later time.
Sure. I may still give it a shot.
Yeah, you probably will. And you'll come back and say, yeah, you're
Just for
right.
the desert.
The other movie, we went to go see Beetlejuice.
Oh, I've not seen it yet.
So I'll avoid spoilers.
Okay.
My take is, it's okay.
Okay.
Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It doesn't have the energy of the first one.
I mean, could it ever? Was there ever a world where it could?
Right. I mean, granted, everyone's like almost 40 fucking years older, including the director. So it's not going to have that young gonzo kind of vibe.
Yeah. swinging for the fences.
Yeah, but I mean, Keaton's having a blast. You could tell he's having a blast. Willem Dafoe is in it, and he stills every scene he's in, as Willem Dafoe
as he
often
tends
does.
to do, yes.
Yeah. Winona Ryder, it's great to see her like in a bigger role again. Catherine O'Hara is always great. Jenna Ortega's always hot. But yeah, there's like disparate plot elements. Like for me, never really quite come together. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of meh. There's some moments that I don't want to ruin this one part for you, but
it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's a part where Beetlejuice starts recounting his origin story, basically, and he starts speaking Italian. And it turns into a black and white 1960s Mario Bava movie.
Oh, that's cool.
And that is the best part of the fucking movie. It's amazing. I'm sitting there chuckling, and everyone else in the theater is like, "Ooh."
What's going on? Nice.
So, there's some good parts. If you're a Beetlejuice fan, it's worth going to see. It's definitely Burton's best film since Ed Wood.
Here's a question. Is it more in the spirit of the original or less compared to the new Ghostbusters?
Much more in the spirit of the original.
Okay. I was curious about that.
Yeah, and was that like an intentional pun? Spirit of the original?
No, just that was an accident. I wish I could say it was that clever.
I don't think the new Ghostbusters movie have fuck all to do with the original Ghostbusters
they don't.
movie.
That was one of my biggest hang-ups. It just didn't have that
It's
spirit
made for
in it,
fans.
The vibe.
It's a wankery fan film. That's all it is. It's about fans' love for the Ghostbusters. It has nothing to do with the original movies or characters. But no, this is much more in the vein of it's a proper sequel. Cool. It's not some lame reboot cool thing.
Well, that's enough for me. I'm in. I'm gonna go see it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I might be dogging it a little bit, but I didn't hate myself for watching it. I'm glad I went.
That's technically high praise from you, so.
It really is. I mean, I was there for the original Beetlejuice in the theaters. I love that movie. So, had to go back for the sequel. Nice. How about you, man? What have you been watching?
Actually, I've been on a little spurt of watching stuff, and I need to talk about. I've almost finished the folk horror box set from Severin, all the Haunts-P hours. Mm-hmm. I got that vigor to finish it off because they've announced a volume 2 with even more films and more craziness. We're getting some Japanese films in this time, which is awesome. But I'll save those maybe for another time because I also have I went to the theater type stuff to talk about. So first I want to talk about a movie that I watched at home, though, on streaming. There's that service Canopy I've mentioned a few times. It's the one that's it's kind of library based. You have to sign up with your library card and kind of get like a rental ticket system. But it's a cool service because they kind of have a mix from different services. So like if you don't collect Criterion discs and you don't have the Criterion channel, they usually have a selection of Criterion films on there, for example.
Okay.
So it's a way to access stuff, maybe you don't normally have access to.
Sure.
Every now and again, Tiffany likes to go diving on there and find a weird, like, indie horror film. Mm-hmm. And so she presented to me the movie Demon from 2015.
Not ringing any bells. No.
Directed by Marcin Rona. And I believe it is pretty much their only film. It's about a bridegroom who gets possessed by a spirit in the midst of a wedding celebration. And it's kind of a retake on like the legend from Jewish mythology about the Dybbuk.
Oh, yeah.
Now, not the Dybbuk box, but the actual like idea of the Dybbuk.
Right, the demon Dybbuk thing.
Not the like fake haunted object that was...
What was that movie, The Possession?
Yeah, The Possession.
Oh, man, that was a big turd.
It's a huge turd. And her en route for this thing was like, oh, this person made this one film, and then like when it was playing at festivals, the creator committed suicide. And so it kind of had this weird like air hanging over it. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, whatever, I'm in. Dreadfully boring.
Really?
I have to say, I really did not like it at all. I was trying to find a good way to encapsulate my feelings. And as I often do, I scroll through Letterboxd to see what other people said. And I saw someone where in one sentence they kind of just nailed it perfectly. And I wish I didn't write down their name or anything, but credit to them for saying this. This is a horror film that's made for people that don't like horror films.
Right.
It has none of the like the pacing or the beats or anything. And
It's like how the Eagles is rock music for people who don't like rock.
yeah, it was like really slow. It was much more about like the drama of their relationship and stuff, and there was never any of like the big moments of like someone being possessed. Like you're halfway through the film before the possession stuff comes in.
And you're a big Possession fan.
Oh yeah, I love movies with possession stuff going on. They're, even if they're shitty, they're still kind of fun usually. But
Right.
this one, not so much. No, it was very, very dry. Very, even when it got into the back end part where they're trying to deal with the possession, like I don't know, it felt almost like clinical the entire time.
Right.
So
Okay. That's too bad.
seek it out. Maybe you have a different feeling. I think for some people, you might watch this and be like, "Oh, that was really, really reserved," and I like the way they tackled it. But it's a no from me, dog. So,
All right.
but I went to the theaters because I needed to see Alien Romulus
Yes, which I still have not seen.
before it got out, and so in turn to you, I will try to avoid spoilers.
Please.
But what I want to preface this is, I'm usually not the biggest Fede Alvarez fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think really don't like his remake of The Evil Dead.
It's fine.
And then Don't Breathe, I like it okay. It's just
I like Don't Breathe. I like that one.
don't really wow me, and
I don't think it needed a sequel.
no, definitely no. So I was a little apprehensive with Romulus, especially since our last entry was Covenant, which was kind of a hot mess, I'm going to say.
Yes. I'll agree with that. Although I do have a different... I rewatched both of them, and I kind of like Prometheus a little bit more now than I did then.
I've always liked Prometheus.
Covenant is... Yeah, it's got too many problems.
So I was really worried about Romulus, but I was like, I got to see it. I've never missed an Alien film in theaters since I've had the capacity to go see them in theaters. So,
Right.
and for this one, I want to say that surprisingly, I really, really loved it. I thought it was like super good, like super. I would almost say it's maybe ranked like third, if not fourth, for me in the whole franchise.
Okay.
The only one that I would contend that with was Prometheus, which I know a lot of people have problems with, but I quite love Prometheus. So I think I would have to like watch those both again
Right.
and kind of see where it would go. Because obviously Alien and Aliens is like untouchable.
Right. They're fucking Stone Cold classics.
yeah.
There's no argument.
That's just right there. And it's kind of just, do you prefer the horror or the action as far as which one you're going to put first. But
Right.
yeah, the cool stuff about Romulus. So this is set after Alien, before Aliens, in that gap of time. And I like it because if you're a big fan of this franchise, then you probably read the comics, read the novels, gotten into all the like ancillary stuff. So you kind of have an idea about like things of the setting they've never shown in the films. Because one thing is like just with the films, like the films that exist, we never really got a depiction in the future timeline of like what life is like really.
Right.
Because every time it's like you start and like they're already on the job.
Yeah, they're on a spaceship.
Or they're in the middle of the mission,
Yeah.
or they've crashed on a prison planet, or
Yeah. We don't see society at large.
you never see what life is like in this world. And Romulus starts with depicting that life. The main cast, they're on like a mining colony that's owned by Weyland-Yutani. You get to see like the shit they're going through, what it looks like out on the streets if you're just living life, which it's shit, of course, but
Is it sort of like a cyberpunk dystopia, more
it's
or
like
less?
a corporate dystopia, basically. And their planet has like such cloud coverage they can never see the sun, and it's eternally night. So it's just like utter shit. Which is the hook of the film, is that they're like, oh, there's some like derelict stuff floating up around the planet. We think one has some cryo tubes. We're gonna go steal them, go to like a farming planet somewhere else, so we can actually live a normal life.
Cool. That's a good RPG adventure setup.
Great, simple little premise. And then, of course, wouldn't you know, it's not just any random floating vessel out there. It's a Weyland-Yutani research station.
Uh-oh.
So invariably, they encounter ye old xenomorphs, which of course get loose, and then chaos ensues for the rest of the film. I'll say no more.
Okay. All right.
But it goes in some neat directions. I really love that we actually get that look of what normal life is like.
Yeah.
It just really adds a lot to like the flavor of the setting. And I get it. If you are hardcore, you already knew that. But if you're only watching the films, like this is the first time you're really getting any of that flavor.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get more, because I know there's making the streaming show Alien Earth.
Right.
I think that's supposed to be set like pre-Prometheus.
Who the fuck knows?
So
I don't know.
We still won't get that future vision, but
Right.
yeah. But man, it was so good. Lots of practical effects. There's only one thing I can ding the whole film for, and this is maybe spoiler territory, so I'm going to dance around it to say that on the station they meet a certain synthetic that is the same model as you may have seen in one of the other films.
Okay.
And they used ye old digital effects to put the face in there.
Sure.
And have it animated and such. Mm-hmm. And it does not look good. It looks real bad.
I don't know.
I just say, don't do that. Just make it a different android. It didn't need to be the same one.
Right. Unless it's like that important to the plot, why do it?
Because it's not even the one. It's like another model of the same type. But that part was a little hokey and a little poorly done. But like everywhere else, the effects were great. And especially like a lot of these new Alien films, in the climax of the film, we get a new permutation of the xenomorph. Because that's a fun thing we've had this entire time is they can...
change them
based on what happens. They can change. Stuff, we get a new one, and it's fucking frightening and terrifying. And they did it with practical effects, and it looks so good and it's so creepy. Gonna be super iconic. I love it. I just only have great things to say about this.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, that makes me want to go try to catch up before it leaves theaters.
Worth the watch, and it was great too in theaters, like on the big screen, because like you get a lot of these huge like space shots that are really vast and like planets and stars and everything in the background. Like, it was worth it being on the big screen.
Right. Cool. All right.
Which is sometimes a rarity because, sometimes you see it and it's like, well, whatever. This could have just been on streaming. But, the grandiose nature of the screen actually helped a lot.
Sweet.
But that brings us to our movie. And I'm going to have to come down off my high horse of praise because...
Well, I realized when I was rewatching this that, oh, fuck. This is an animal attack movie. Dustin hates animal attack movies.
Yeah.
I done shot myself in the foot on this one.
Shallow and pedantic.
But that's okay. That's okay. We can talk about it. We can have fun.
Sure.
Because this isn't like a movie I love. I just think it's an underseen, nice little gem that is out there that people could watch.
All right. We'll get into it after the jump here. Of Unknown Origin, George P. Cosmatos, 1983. Two forces have claimed the house. Only one will survive.
Dun, dun, dun. This is described by IMDb as a dark comedy, psychological horror, and thriller.
That's a lot of tags to put on this film.
Mm-hmm. You could also put like, animal attack or whatever as a subgenre.
On Wikipedia, they just listed as psychological horror, which is maybe where I would fall, I guess, if I had to pick something.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. Although I do think dark comedy is appropriate, because there's just some pretty funny parts to this, I thought.
I didn't laugh.
Wow. Not even at Peter Weller?
I laughed at his acting being ill-matched for his character, but...
Isn't it great? This is his first big role in the movie. I think it was his first... role at all, period, in a film.
It reminded me why his greatest role is RoboCop. I'll say that.
Are you saying he's robotic?
Somewhat, yes, in his delivery.
What about Buckaroo Banzai? He's great in that, too.
It's all right.
Wow. Someone's not a Peter Weller lover.
So let's start here, because I'll need to say this up top to validate everything I'm saying.
Sure.
I don't like animal attack films. It's my least favorite subgenre of horror.
I kind of forgot that.
I've mentioned it in passing sometimes, but we're many episodes in now, so let's go over it one more time.
Maybe I just wanted to torture you.
They don't usually excite me or entice me at all, which is one thing. The other thing is I feel like a lot of them kind of heinously create a lot of bad vibes and feelings toward animals they don't need to. For example, Jaws, that did a lot to instill the fear of sharks in people, unnecessarily so.
Right.
And led to a lot of like negative ideas and actions to happen as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think to me, usually it's just like not enough to get me in that zone of like love and horror and being excited about it. It either has to be like stupidly over the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking like an Anaconda kind of thing, where it's just so fucking dumb that you're like, yes, this is fun. Or it needs to be like really weird, like those Italian knockoff ones, where it's like it's so just abstract and it's like someone made this and thought it was a real movie or something.
Right.
And you can just laugh at it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
But if you just hand me a little platter and it's like, here's a person and he's being tormented by a random animal, usually that doesn't do anything.
Okay. Fair enough, man. We all have our own kinks,
We do.
know. This is based on the book called The Visitor by Chauncey Parker. I think it's fairly faithful from the book to what I've read. I haven't read the book itself.
Yeah, it was published in 1981, so
Yeah.
2 years.
It didn't take long for it to become a movie. Also, we could probably go ahead and say it's produced by Pierre David and Claude Hero, who are frequent collaborators of David Cronenberg, his early films. And actually, Pierre David produced a movie we watched not long ago, Pin.
Oh. An excellent movie.
Another Canadian joint. So the movie starts on this old brownstone.
Very fancy looking.
Very nice. I like it. It's kind of gothic. I like the music right away. It's very 80s, synthy.
Decidedly so.
It's pretty good stuff. Movie opens, we get a woman with a little bit of tasteful side boob in the shower. But not just any woman. This is Shannon Tweed.
Yes, a playmate of some notoriety.
And anyone who grew up watching Skinamax back in the day saw her movies all the fucking time. She was in all those erotic thrillers and shit. She's married to Gene Simmons of Kiss. I don't know if they're still married. Somehow I doubt it. I didn't bother to look it up because I don't like
care
Gene
about
Simmons.
Kiss,
Yeah. Hopefully for her, she divorced him a long time
But
ago.
yes, I've seen many of her films.
Right, yeah. They were straining the shelves of video rental stores back in the day. But Peter Weller, he's playing a character named Bart Hughes.
And his wife's name is Meg.
Yes. And his son's name is Peter.
Funny because Peter Weller, but
Yeah,
whatever.
So
he's an investment banker.
He's an investment banker. He's this high-rolling investment banker. He's on this track to become, big shot.
Yeah, he's going to join the board.
You can already tell they've got some money. He's a yuppie. He's an 80s yuppie.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something before about Peter Weller's acting and his delivery and stuff.
Yeah.
It cracks me up. I love it. Because everything he's like, he's talking to his kid. His kid's making a mess of cereal and shit. And he's like, hey, you're getting cereal all over the joint, man. What are you doing?
Except it's more like, you're getting cereal all over the joint, man. What are you doing?
I think he showed up and just played himself.
Well, I did see in some interviews talking about it. He said he was really nervous in any of the scenes where he had to actually act on screen with Shannon.
Interesting.
He was very intimidated.
Okay. Huh.
Just funny.
It is. Yeah, it's obviously that he's very career obsessed. But to his credit, he won't take the money of his rich father-in-law.
Yeah, we learned they bought this place and he renovated it by hand.
Did it all by himself. Yeah. All by hand. He said, not one machine touched this house. I did it all by hand. So we already know he's very attached to his house.
Yeah. But we learned that Meg's been planning a vacation with her parents. I think, in Vermont is where they're going?
Yeah, somewhere like that.
And she invites Bart to go, but you can definitely tell there's a tension with the family there.
Yeah.
It's not just that he doesn't want their money as a help. He wants to kind of just stand apart from them and completely.
Right. But he can't go because he's got big, important business to do.
Yeah, and he's pretty sure this is going to be the one that's going to get him the promotion. So he's got to knuckle down and focus.
Yep. So his family leaves, and we see him, he's making toast. And I like this shot because he's got a chromy toaster oven, and we see something reflected in it. And then it kind of moves back, and he doesn't see it. So as soon as his family leaves, this dark presence makes itself known in the house.
Yeah.
And then we even see something's POV watching the family leave. So it's like whatever this is was waiting for them to go. I think this is where some of the psychological horror tag comes in on. But anyway. So yeah, he goes to work and everyone's smoking in the boardroom and shit like that.
Yeah.
Fucking 80s.
He's got a hot secretary.
Hot secretary, Lori.
That looks after all his affairs, basically.
And he tells her that, you've got a pretty blouse on today. But he doesn't seem too lecherous. He's not spanking her ass and calling her sweetheart and shit like that.
Pretty tame for this time, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, until later, but we'll get there.
You can also kind of tell that maybe she likes him, So Bart's thrown off track because he loses this one job he was working on, this one presentation. But then he gets this new one, and he's only got 2 weeks to work with it.
Yeah, there's this weird subplot with all this, with his job, where there's this guy named James who's like, he came through from like an Ivy League school, and he's all favored to do great and all this stuff.
He's his biggest competitor. It's gonna be him or James for this big promotion.
I just didn't buy it because the James dude is so like dumpy and like goofy.
Dude, have you seen Investment Bakers? That's what they fucking look like.
He just seemed both unpleasant and incompetent, so I was like, okay.
He's got I got 2 weeks to do this, fine, great.
Well, we should say what the task is that his boss, his name's Elliot, and he wants him to come up with a plan to reorganize their company completely, top to bottom, all the branches.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big ask.
Across the nation.
Yeah. But he thinks that if he does this really well, then his promotion is secured.
And kind of in a show of faith, also, his boss invites him to a dinner party. It's going to happen, was it like in a few days or something?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he's got that hanging over him. So he's back at home at night. He's working on his stuff. He thinks he hears something. And he's kind of walking around investigating. And we see this big shadow. I mean, it's obviously a rat is what we see the shadow of.
Sure.
And it moves back. It's very Nosferatu-ish in a way, because we just see its shadow. We don't see the actual rat itself. And later that night, he finds a big flood in his kitchen. Mm-hmm. It looks like the dishwasher is fucked up. Yeah. So he starts cleaning that up and bitching about it. And we definitely know it's a rat soon, because he's sleeping later that night, and we see something knocking shit down in the living room, and we see a big giant rat's paw at one point.
Yeah.
And then we get what I think is kind of a cool POV shot of this rat going down pipes. Mm-hmm. I mean, that looked pretty neat. What do you think about that?
It's all right. I mean, it is all right. It's what you expect. It's the POV of a rat.
But there was something about it. I thought it was well shot and looked cool. There was something almost Raimi-esque about it.
And they do these like close-up shots of like the rat under a piece of glass, so they can like try to make the paws look really big.
Yeah. So the next day, he's got like the super over of the building, superintendent.
His name's Cleet.
Cleet, who you may recognize. It took me a little while. I kept looking at this dude's face, and I'm like, dude, I fucking know you. What the fuck do I know you from? He's got kind of a big noggin. He's got like a little mustache. What the fuck? What have you been in? You were in a Cronenberg movie. And I kept thinking, fuck, you were in Scanners. He's the dude whose head explodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's his name? His name is...
That's great.
Let's give him a little credit here. He is Louis Delgrand.
Nice.
He's in one of the most famous scenes in any horror film. So he's taking, hey, your hose, you got chewed through by a rat. Mm-hmm. And Bart's like, there's no rats here, man. And
I love how casual he is about it. He's like, what are you talking about? It's New York. There's rats everywhere.
Yeah, there's rats everywhere. And so, Bart's like, oh, I got to call an exterminator. And Cleet's like, no, you don't need to get an exterminator. You're just going to fuck up the place.
And he'll tear down all the walls.
Yeah, and Bart's like, oh, no one's touching this place, So he's like, you don't mind getting your hands dirty. You can take care of it.
And Bart, this is where he's dropping some like lore, though, that it gets into that stuff where I'm like, because they talk about like, oh, they can survive almost anything. They could probably live through an atomic blast.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. But then he warns him that you better hope it's not a female, because they're twice as vicious.
Yeah, right. So it's going to be a female. Mm-hmm. So later on, we see him setting some traps, and they're like the large wooden variety, normal rat trap you always see. Later on, he gets back home. He's checking the traps. They're not haven't been set off or anything like that.
Baits removed, traps not sprung.
Yeah.
Your typical Tom and Jerry Act 1.
Right. And we get more POV shots of something watching him while he's checking the traps. He does find one trap the next day, and it's like all chewed up. Mm-hmm. And it looks like the wire trap part has been bent.
Yeah. It's clearly some kind of super intelligent rat.
Yeah, and he goes back to the super, and he's like, man, these traps didn't do shit. And then we get more info dump about rats, how they're survivors and too tough. You gotta really...
Mm-hmm. You gotta outsmart them.
Yeah. So he gets these like big ass super traps, like these big metal contraptions.
Yeah, they're more of like the
So like a small bear trap
hunting,
or something.
Yeah, bear like hunting trap style thing.
This funny line. He says, "Watch and weep, you furry fucker," while he's setting it.
He spends some time in the library.
Yeah, we get. I mean, this has to be like an homage to Jaws, because he's in the library doing all this research on rats. He's reading through these books, seeing all these pictures.
We're getting like footage in the background.
Yeah, he watches a videotape at one point. He's seeing pictures of like people who have been attacked by rats, like bitten in their sleep and shit like that. And he's getting freaked out and grossed out and stuff. It's right out of the scene from Jaws when Brody's
This is what the shit I'm talking about, man. Freaking anti-rat propaganda up in this film.
Do you want rats in your house?
I mean, no, but I would also just pay a professional to deal with them. So
would you kill it? Or would you have it removed humanely as possible?
I mean, if they could remove it humanely, then sure.
I'm the same way. I think they're kind of cute.
Last year, I'll say this: my house got infested with bats. There was a little like hole in the roof, and they got into our attic, and we had like fucking like 70, 80, 90 of them or something.
You didn't decide to become Batman?
Well, see, Tiffany was very perturbed by the whole situation. I was like, this is like free Halloween decorations. So,
right, this is awesome.
We're talking about every time the sun starts to set, they all rush out of the roof and are flying around.
You can command them.
And then because they were there, it attracted owls because the owls wanted to eat the bats.
Owls are cool too.
If you're hanging out outside, you're just hearing hoo, hoo.
I mean, it's perfect Halloween year round.
But no, we got a person, and he humanely got them to exit the attic and not come back to our house.
That's good.
And then sealed the hole.
I mean, you really don't want bats infesting your house.
No,
they can be rabid.
It can be
the bat guano and all that shit. You don't want that.
He did this like thing with a net where it's like they could fly out but then not fly back in.
Oh, okay.
So it got them all out humanely, and then we were able to seal that up. Problem solved.
Cool. All right. Good deal. I'm glad. Back to the movie. I know you don't want to talk about it.
Hey, what else can we talk about?
We got to soldier through. So he gets back to work and he's late getting back there from lunch, and he refuses a call from his wife.
Yeah.
Because he's getting kind of obsessed about this rat. He's pissed off.
He don't have time.
Doesn't have time for his wife. And I kind of praised him for not being a lecherous fucker earlier, but then he starts... And this is the sign of the times, because he's talking about the Orientals to some of his business partners.
That was his big plan. We're going to bring them in.
I'm going to bring in the Orientals, yeah.
I was just like, oh,
now,
no.
that would have been a term that would have been used all the time back then.
Sure.
It's cringy now.
Yes.
And I love this because he gets to the party, where he was invited to earlier, and everyone's like, it's all proper opera. Everyone's, in their best clothing, and he's a little disheveled, but he starts going on and on about all these rat facts.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene.
Hashtag rat facts.
Talking about how they spread the plague, and, there's more rats than almost any other creature on the planet, and all this shit, all this stuff, all this gross stuff.
Yeah. And I love it because the secretary, she kicks her shoe off and is trying to, kick him under the table.
Yeah. But he just keeps going on about these rats.
What are you doing, man? Because, of course, in that way the workforce is set up at the time, her future is kind of attached onto him. So.
Right. Yeah, the more successful he is, the more successful she'll be. Yeah. So he gets back home after this. None of the traps have been set off. You hear some scuttling. We see some more POV going through the pipes again. He kind of breaks down and tries to get an exterminator, but is told everyone's overbooked because it's New York and there's rats fucking everywhere.
That's what they told him.
Yeah. So he goes to this guy, and he's like some survivalist guy or something.
He looks like a hardware salesman, right? He looks like a hardware store. But he's very, I don't know, like ex-military or something. I don't know.
Right, yeah, like a survivalist almost, I think. But he gets some poison from this dude.
And they go through all the poison types.
Yeah.
Too, because there's the one that'll just kill them, and then there's the one that's that makes them
makes them crazy. He'll be
eternally
super thirsty and water won't do anything.
And they'll just kill themselves off that.
But he'll chew right through Bart if he's in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He gets back home. He's finding everything in his linen cloth. It's all chewed up. And there's a good scene where he's going to take a piss, and the fucking rat's in there.
Yeah.
And he screams and yells and runs after him. And Later on at night, he's hearing the rat scuttle some more, and he's banging on the ceiling with a copy of Moby Dick. You know, a little reference to obsessiveness.
Obsessively hunting a creature.
Obsessively hunting a creature, yep. He's complaining to the super later about finding the rat in his toilet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they like that. You know, they go through the pipes, they come out in the toilet. They like to attack the soft parts of a person's body." And Cleet tells him, "No, you gotta switch poisons. Wear rubber gloves when you handle them. And did you put a trap in the boiler room?" Which Bart did not.
Yep.
So we're thinking, oh, maybe the rat's nest is in the boiler room.
So that next night, he's down there in the basement, rigging everything up. And then this is where he finds the babies, right?
Yes. Yeah, he finds a box full of little babies. I think they're called kittens or pups, depending on who you talk to. And he's like, oh, what the fuck? And he's kind of holding them. But then the big rat comes out and attacks him. Straight up attacks him. Starts attacking his leg.
Confirming that it's a female.
Right.
Call back to the earlier part.
Sure. He drops the box. The babies like fall through this grate. And the rat's freaking out even more. And he manages to get out of the room and closes the door on the rat.
Yeah.
At work, coworkers talking about how Bart's losing it. He's all disheveled.
Yeah, and his boss even comes to him and he's like, "Hey, I've been reviewing your stuff about this reorganization plan. It seems really cool, but are you okay? Is this like too much for you? Are you gonna get this done on time?
Can this happen? Because you need to focus.
You're looking kind of rough, buddy."
Yeah, but he's like, "No, I can do that. I got this."
And he kind of sets it up like, "Oh, there's just a lot of problems at home right now."
Right. And we do start to learn that there have been problems at home. Like things aren't so great with him and his wife.
Yeah, they're on rocky ground, which maybe adds some backup to like the secretary focus, I guess.
Yeah. So that night, Lori goes home with him to help get the job done, and they have a little moment. Yeah, well, they're like about to kiss and shit.
Yeah, she even asks him like, "Are you having problems?"
Yeah,
with
he's
your
talking
wife?
about things aren't great with the wife. But they're about to kiss when the rat makes a noise, and then he's like, "Okay, get the fuck out of here," because he kind of comes to himself and is like, "Yeah."
But as he's sending her off, he notices a little cat outside.
Little cute kitty outside, someone's cat, and he just brings the cat inside. Now this, okay, I grant you, this is when I started to not like this character.
Yeah.
Because he's like, "Hello kitty, why don't you come in here and I got a rat for you to catch."
Yeah, it's
Because this is not his cat.
It's the old Tom and Jerry, man.
Yeah. So Bart's getting more equipment from Cleet as the cat's poking around the house. And we get this scene where, like, Bart's sitting and drinking, and he has... We think that might be like a dream or a flashback. We're not sure, but it's like his kid's birthday party. And all these kids are gathered around it, and they have the cake.
And then the rat explodes out of it.
Out of the cake, yeah.
Yep.
And Bart's really starting to lose it. We see him just sort of staring blankly, sitting in his kid's room.
And then
the rat attacks him in his bed that night.
Yeah.
And
after we have some shots of the cat like stalking it, trying to catch it.
Yeah, he starts trying to chase it down with the fireplace poker and no dice. And in the morning, he finds the dead cat on top of the fridge, all bloody and mangled.
Okay, unpack this for me. How did this happen?
I guess the rat killed the cat and dragged it up under the fridge. I don't know.
So here's where, like...
What am I, a fucking rat expert here?
This spot solidified one of my big issues with this film, apart from just not liking the style in general. It's just a rat.
It's a big rat.
It's only a rat.
It's a big-ass rat.
It's confirmed it's only a rat. It's not paranormal. It's not superhuman. It's not mutated.
I mean, maybe it's paranormal. We don't know.
They give no indication of the sorts. And yet it does things that are just, like, incredulous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, killing the cat in this way is just like, I can't accept that
You don't think
happened.
like a giant rat, like the size of a fucking big possum, could kill a rat or a cat?
Could it? Yes. In the way that it's depicted in this film, no.
Okay.
On top of the fridge, like its face flayed off and positioned there like that, no.
I mean, it was obviously positioned there on purpose. I mean, the rat is Jason Voorhees, and he's putting his victim there where it could be displayed.
It's not a real rat anymore.
Oh, man.
And then even that, too, the way it moves about the house, it has, like, holes through everything, like...
You're like, where are these holes?
If he just renovated the house and it's, like, this fucked up, I don't. It just didn't add up for me.
Okay. All right. Maybe there's a reason for that, though. Maybe that's where the psychological horror comes from. Maybe there's not actually a rat.
There's pretty clearly a rat.
Does anybody else see this rat?
I mean, we'll get to where it goes, but I mean...
Okay. So yeah, Bart's is like asleep at work, and concern for him is growing. He calls his wife, and doesn't get her. Leaves a message, And he's trying to get her to come home. She's not coming home.
And then isn't this when he tries to actually hire the exterminator? He calls a guy, gets him, says like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave you a check."
Yeah, he's gonna leave a check. He's at home. He's talking to the rat. He's like, "Honey, I'm home." But yeah, he leaves a check for the exterminator. Says, "Come kill this fucking rat."
Yeah, so he fills out this check and he puts it. It's a record player and it's got like the cover.
Yeah,
and he puts it under the cover on the turntable.
Right. But he gets home the next day and he's all happy because he's assured that the rat is gone because the exterminator came, right? And he's sitting down trying to relax and he hears like banging in the piano.
Yeah.
And the fucking rat is in the piano. And he's calling the exterminator and saying, "What the fuck happened? You're supposed to come here and kill this rat." And the exterminator's like,
"You didn't pay me."
Yeah, you didn't pay me. And he's like, "Well, I left the check right here." And he finds it and it's all torn to shreds.
It's on the coffee table, torn to shreds.
The rat.
So now we're supposed to believe that the rat
knew that if he tore the check up, the exterminator would not do his job.
It has a level of sentience to understand that if it saw a check, the check means that it's going to get an exterminator hired.
Yes.
So it somehow opened the cover on the record player and then got the check out and chewed it up.
Yes, rats are very smart.
Mm-hmm. This is like one of those parts where I'm like, I don't buy it.
So he's in bed later that night, falling asleep at the TV, watching The Old Man and the Sea, another movie about
another reference to
obsessive
pursuits.
And I like how the rat's crawling under the sheets, and we see this big lump like getting closer to Peter Weller, and he feels it and freaks out and starts hitting it with the baseball bat. Laura is getting more concerned, comes over to Bart's place.
Oh, and isn't this also when he finds like parts of his report like chewed up too?
Yeah, the rat ate his homework. Yeah,
just never good.
So Secretary Laurie finds him sitting on the stoop of the stairs into the basement. He's like wearing a black beanie and holding a bat. It's obviously he's losing it. He tells her just to go home. Let's see what else happens here.
And then isn't this when he confronts his boss, like in the lobby of the tower they work in? Because his boss comes in.
And he's looking like shit.
Yeah, Bart's there. He's like not done up at all.
He looks like an unhoused person.
He's got like stubble.
Yeah.
And Elliot's like, "My God, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And he basically just tells him, "There's stuff at home I have to take care of. I can't do anything else until I fix the problems at home.
Yeah.
I'll get you the report that you want, and it'll be great. But you just have to trust me to do my shit.
Right.
And if you want to take it away from me, take it away from me."
Yeah. And his boss only says, he keeps saying, "Don't let the staff see you like this."
Yeah. But the boss does agree with it. He's like, "All right, you got your shot. But just get out of here before anyone sees you."
So later on, Bart's back home. He's like in that boiler room area, and he's poking around this little, it's like a miniature of the brownstone he lives in.
Yeah, it's like a replica, like dollhouse version of their house.
Which I guess is something he made, but it's never really explained.
No. Earlier he had filled it with the like bear trap.
Yeah,
Mini
he
traps.
accidentally sets it off and it claps onto his hand.
Yep.
Peter Weller does not have good luck with his hands in movies.
No, he does not.
So he like gets in the tub. He's drinking. He's still clothed and bleeding. And he's trying to clean the wound. And then, it's obviously a nightmare. But like his family gets home.
They're all excited, happy to see him.
His kid's making cereal, and there's like rat poison sitting out on the counter, and he's like just dumping the rat poison in the cereal because he's a stupid child.
Yeah.
And
this alarmed Tiffany when she was watching this too, and then I was like, "This has to be a dream sequence."
Right? Yeah. I mean, anyone who's familiar with movie literacy knows this is a dream sequence. And he's like making out with his wife and shit, but then she gets attacked by the rat. And he wakes up in the tub with the rat hanging on the shower rod above him. And he's attacking it, trying to catch it. It's too fast. And then he runs and jumps on this hammock he has set up in his bedroom. So he thinks he's safe in this hammock because he's not like touching the floor. Yeah. And how's the rat going to get to him? So Lori finds out that the deadline's been pushed back a couple of weeks. And she's like, oh, yay, we can get this done now. This is great. But, Bart's not answering his phone, right? So she runs down there. Yeah. And he won't answer the door. And she starts yelling up to him at the window saying, hey, we got some more time. We can get this done. And he just yells at her to fucking go away.
Yeah, he's very mean to her.
Yeah.
And we sadly never see her again in this film.
Nope, sure don't. So I thought she was going to be rat food for sure. The rat doesn't actually kill anybody in this movie.
That would really stretch belief.
Which leads me to believe that perhaps a lot of this is in his head, if not all of it.
I would believe that if they gave me one shot where there was something that kind of backed that up.
I don't know. I think it could be inferred. The fact that no one else ever sees the rat. Maybe. Anyway, so we're in the home stretch. This is almost over. Your suffering is almost at an end.
Yes.
Bart's like hammering these nails and screws and shit into this baseball bat.
He goes a little Mad Maxy because he gets like a leather jacket.
Yeah. He's got this headlamp he got from Cleats. Maybe he's hunting the rat all through the house, and he is just fucking up the house as he goes.
Breaking
destroying everything. This house he loves, the house he renovated with his bare hands.
He hears it in the wall. He starts smashing the wall.
Yep. There's some back and forth. They're winding up in the basement again. And he eventually corners it and just starts wailing on it with his weapon. And it's a big bloody mess. It's finally dead. And he's kind of going outside just as his family gets home. And his wife was like, what are you wearing?
He's just so excited to see them.
Yeah, he's like... And they go in and she's like, what happened here? And he says, I had a party while you were gone.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends.
Da-na-na-na. Does he finish the report? We don't know.
We don't know. We never find out.
What happens with the hot secretary? We don't know.
Don't know. Nothing happens because his wife comes back and everything's good again.
Sure.
All right. Any trivia or anything you saw about this movie?
I have a lot because I knew I wouldn't have much to contribute otherwise.
Okay, go for it.
Let's see. George Cosmatos described this film as one man's mind-bending battle against obsession, which maybe leans a little credence to your interpretation.
Yep.
Cosmatos was a fan of the film Willard from 1971.
That's a good movie.
He didn't want it to influence their production too much, so he didn't rewatch it until they finished filming this. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This was the cinema debut of Shannon Tweed.
Yep.
In fact,
we would see a lot more of her in years to come.
Yes. It's technically the first lead starring role for Peter Weller.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of firsts. Amy Castle is in this film as one of the kids at the birthday party in The Dream.
Who's Amy Castle?
So yeah, she was a Canadian actress that was in a lot of like genre films back in the day.
Oh, she was in... Oh, wait, this is...
She was in Sleeping Spell, Back to Sherwood, Satan's School for Girls. She was in like some TV shows like Big Wolf on Campus.
I don't know any of this. I know a couple of those. Oh, Satan's School for Girls. Yeah, that's the remake of the old 70s.
Solid, not very high-listed genre actress, I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. Cool. I was not familiar with her.
Let's see. Talking about getting Peter Weller on board, Cosmatos said he pitched it as a survival story. Weller, talking about it, said, both stories parallel each other. The ambition of the guy with his job draws comparisons to the guy who is trying to kill the rat at the expense of his house. The theme of it all is to survive at any cost. Brian Taggart was brought in to like work up the script and adapt the novel.
Mm-hmm.
You might know Taggart from some other stuff. He wrote the slasher film Visiting Hours.
I've never seen that one. Have you seen that one?
It's okay.
Is that the one with Michael Ironside?
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Taggart based the character of Bart on his stepfather, who he described as being obsessed with cleanliness and order.
He sounds fun.
He devised the title based on a Webster's dictionary definition of a rat, which denotes the species as being of unknown origin.
Ooh, creepy.
Let's see. There's this whole scene. It's one of the scenes where Lori comes over to his house. And she like kicks her shoes off and is walking around and like walking through the house looking for him. Jennifer Dale said that was her favorite scene to shoot because she hated the high heels they gave her to wear. And this was apparently supposed to be like a longer scene where in the movie it's when he's like she finds him, she's asks if he's okay, and he hears the rat and he's like, just leave. But it was supposed to be longer, and it was supposed to be that she hung around a bit, and eventually it cuts to them like in the living room sitting together. She says something about her feet hurting, which is why she took her shoes off, and then he's like massaging her feet and trying to be like, hey, I'm okay, I'm just dealing with a lot right now. And it's like a softer kind of getting her to leave than what they used in the final film. It was they said that it was meant to have this feeling of warmth and tenderness to kind of balance out the like sexual tension between them. But eventually when they got to like cutting down the film, it just kind of seemed like unnecessary. And that also in some ways like him massaging her feet might put more credence to there being like a relationship there than not. So they kind of just gutted that, but
I think that's quite cool.
Yeah. The house, the cool brownstone. It's been used in some other stuff. As a small appearance in the Drowned Books, the Drowned Book, 2015. I don't know, and they used it in The Librarians. That was the one I actually recognized.
Oh, okay. But it wasn't very successful.
Yeah.
Because it cost about $4 million to make and made just over $1 million. But if you were a child of the 80s, you would have seen this like on late night cable. Like I think TBS played it a few times. It's probably the first time I saw it.
They used 40 different rats to get the close-up shots. They used micro lenses to make them look much larger than they actually were. Going with what you just said about its poor performance, the marketing was a little misleading on this movie. A lot of the posters and taglines made it seem like the rat was like a supernatural creature, or that the house was like haunted or possessed, or there was like a demonic thing going on.
Yeah, if you see the trailer, like the house was like glowing at the end of the trailer. Probably poltergeist influence there or something.
I would say so. Trying to cash in on that. So a lot of people went in expecting like a lot more than a dude
going
on
crazy
his own,
in his apartment,
trying to kill a
in
rat.
his house. Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we got? It got 2 awards at the Paris Film Festival in 1983.
That's something.
Best Actor for Peter Weller, so they disagree with me.
I love Peter Weller.
And they got the Grand Prix Award for Cosmatos. John Waters has commented on this film before. He said it's the greatest rat movie of all time.
Another John Waters approved film, so I'm not alone here.
I mean, I won't refute it. I'll just say, I disagree. Whatever. Stephen King has come out saying that he's a fan of it. Said it's one of his all-time favorite horror films.
When has Stephen King ever been wrong?
Well.
and it's obvious this influenced Cat's Eye, I think.
Yeah. For sure.
Because that was written specifically for the movie, which came after this, so.
And then let's see.
Although I will say I like Cat's Eye more than this.
Warner Brothers gave it a DVD release in 2003, and Scream Factory gave it a Blu-ray release in 2018.
Scream Factory would never release a bad movie on Blu-ray.
And this was the last little note thing I pulled. While it's rare to ever have a rat as large as it's depicted in this film, there's allegedly stories of a giant rat that was found dead in a Foot Locker shoe shop in the Bronx in New York. And it was 36 inches long, weighing 4 pounds.
Damn.
About the size of a medium-sized dog.
It's a pretty big rat.
So possible, if improbable.
Enough for me, man. There are big giant rats out there. I know it.
And that's what I pulled of note.
Yeah, you hit about everything I was going to hit. I won't prolong your suffering any longer.
I mean, if you got any other fun notes, I want to hear them.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay, so I've seen this before. It's my movie. I'll go first. I just think it's a fun little movie. Is it special? No. It's just one of those great little 80s flicks that's just, it's a good time. It's an hour and a half. You're in, you're out. You get Peter Weller acting weird. sometimes that's just enough for me. I do think I lean toward the psychological explanation of this. I think he's just kind of going a little goofy. Mm-hmm. I think it's the pressure at work and financial pressure and having issues with his family. And it's, I don't know if you're like this or if you know people who are like this, but like, especially men, like when their wife or family are gone, mm-hmm. they're different. They kind of act different. They might do things they normally wouldn't do if their family was present. And they kind of lose it a little bit because they need their family to keep them grounded. I will reference a Mad Men episode, one of my favorite TV shows. I don't know if you ever watched it or not.
I have not.
But there's a character, Pete, who's pretty slimy. Vincent Kartheiser plays him. He also played Angel's son in the series Angel. Okay. Anyway, so he's kind of a slime ball. His wife goes away for a while. He's left alone in his apartment, and he just does some really shitty things with this, the nanny of one of the neighbors.
Oh, scandalous.
Yes. So the wife comes back, and he's like, the neighbor finds out about it, and he comes over, and he's like, hey, don't shit where you live, and stuff like that. So his wife comes back, and Pete says, he has this line to her that says, I don't like who I am when you're not here. So it's something to that effect. I might be misquoting it. But, and that just, it made me think about this and how some guys go a little nutty when they don't have that grounding. And I think that's kind of what happened here, And we get this obsessiveness, especially the whole yuppie culture with their things and
status. I just wanted him to like turn the corner in their office building, and then there's like Patrick Bateman walking down the hall.
Right.
It's very much in that vein.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there is some credence to that. I think that makes it a more interesting read because I don't think everyone even hears or sees the rat. Because I'm not sure when Laurie is in there, when he hears the rat, I'm not sure she hears the rat. So that's what I think. And I think it's a fun little movie. I love Willer's performance. He's so odd. And his delivery is it's so weird and nuanced. I just think it's a fun movie. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's for everybody.
Okay.
But if you like creature attack films from the 80s, if you like Peter Weller, I think you're going to dig this. And I'll give it 3 stars.
Wow.
I just think it's a fun movie.
Okay.
All right. And I don't know if
impressive.
Perhaps dovetailing with the psychological aspect of this, perhaps I wanted to psychologically torture you because I know you don't like animal attack movies, and I always try to avoid them. But for some reason, I did not put that together until after I had watched this.
So I did enough research before I watched it to know it was like an animal attack film, and I was like, oh, there must be something special about this one then, if he's like, let's go in on this.
Beyond the psychological aspects, that it could all be in his fucking head and he's just losing his marbles because his family's gone. Because he kills it as soon as his family comes back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like immediately, as soon as it's dead, they're back.
Sure.
Anyway, what did you think about it?
I like the psychological angle more. I just don't feel like, for me, they don't give you enough rope to like hang that idea.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
If like we had gotten a little more in the house and like he goes to show them the rat and then there's no blood there or anything, that would be like that, or like the
exterminator comes and he's like, there is no rat. I didn't find anything.
The exterminator's like, there's nothing there. You're fine, then it still persists.
Yeah.
I just need like a little more, and I feel like there's the building blocks there for it, like the little pieces, but they just didn't sequence the whole DNA or something, because you have like the references, right? That he finds the copy of Moby Dick. He's watching The Old Man in the Sea.
Right.
And I kept feeling like it was supposed to be a thing of like a parallel, right? Like his inability to take care of the rat and have the house in order mirrors his problem at work, achieving the position that he knows he deserves, but there's all this competition.
Right.
And it's like a pressure on him.
Yeah.
But then I don't feel like, again, they don't like thread it all through the hoop, because we never see what happens with his job or how that comes out. Or
do we need to? I don't think we need to.
But I think if you're making like a parallel, those two things would be like they would crisscross at some point where it would be like he solves the one, he solves the other.
I think you can infer that, especially with his family back and the rat, in quotation marks, dead, and he has that 2-week extension, I think we can infer that he's going to be able to get his shit together and get it done.
Hopefully.
I do want to circle back to something, because when the super is like looking at his dishwasher and finds the hose, the first thing he says is that it like burned through. You know, it overheated or something. It was next to something too hot. And then he said, well, I mean, a rat could have done that, but I've never seen a rat able to choose through this sort of a hose before. So the only evidence that we have of the rat that someone else saw could be explained by just being burnt.
I just don't feel like the pieces are all there for me.
That's fine. That's fine.
But other than that, like, again, I don't really like Weller's performance. I
Right.
feel like he's super stiff, super awkward. And I don't know we're supposed to take him as that kind of character. Because he seems like until this whole incident starts, he was like popular at his job and well liked. But I don't know. And again, like I already went
like
over
Peter
my
Weller.
beef
I
with
buy it.
animal attack films, but I'm not here for that. I feel like the rat, if we accept that the rat is real, it is way beyond belief the activities it gets up to and the things it accomplishes. Which again is why I like if it is the psychological thing, but then I don't feel like they went enough down that road
Okay.
for me to buy into it. And yeah, like when it ends, I just feel like there was so much for me. I was like, what about his job? What about the stuff with his secretary? What about this? What about if anything, I wanted answers to those things, and
Okay.
I also don't get that. So it was just, whatever. I don't know. I think this would shine best either with a little more to it to like connect those dots for the psychological side, or make it even shorter. And it's like a 30-minute segment in an anthology film.
Right.
Which we've seen kind of examples of that. Like, what's the one? I was thinking of it on the way over here, and I couldn't remember which one it's from. But it's like the dude hires the hitman to, like, kill the cat.
Oh, yeah. Tales from the Dark Side.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, yeah. Like, that segment is fucking gold.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I hate that
I think that one's great.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
The only one I like in that movie is the last one with the gargoyles.
Oh, I love all the parts of that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Score's pretty good. It's passable, It's not like...
It's a fun 80s horror
It doesn't
score.
impress, but it works really well. There's some good camera work in there. The POV shots of the rat are well done. The micro lenses to get the super-sized shots are pretty cool.
Sure.
But otherwise, it's kind of just... For me, it was like a by-the-numbers animal attack horror flick. And it didn't have that je ne sais quoi to make me excited about it. So
What the French call, I don't know what.
yes. So I gave it 1 star.
Okay. Wow.
Because it is a movie that exists.
So this is at least as bad as I think Muck is for you.
I like Muck more.
But I gave Muck 1 star.
I would even go so far as to say I like Brimstone better than this. Because
I like Brimstone better than
Brimstone
this.
has a lot of nice execution. And
I like Brimstone,
Yeah.
so that's okay. That's something.
more,
If this made you
more
appreciate
engaging.
Brimstone more, then my job is done.
the secret truth of this situation
Yes.
has been revealed.
My circuitous plan has come to fruition. All right. Well, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy this.
Sorry, hey, they
And
can't all be zingers.
I should have realized, dude, it's an animal attack movie. He's not going to like this.
Hey, sometimes you got to try.
Yeah, I think there's some people out there. I think some of our listeners would enjoy this movie. And I encourage them to check it out.
Yes, and if you like it, write in, let us know. Let us see what you think.
And if you hated it and you agree with Dustin, let us know.
And if you know the crazy animal attack ones, the ones that are dumb, fun, the ones that are over the top, send those in to us.
Yeah, those are fun.
I'll watch some of
We
those.
like those.
And you can always do that by hitting us up anywhere and everywhere. You can find us, tell us to give us movies. We need movies. We need more movies. We'll watch whatever you want us to watch.
Man, we sound pathetic.
Please give us movies, man.
Just give us one more chance. We'll watch whatever you want us to.
But next up is my pick.
Uh-oh.
And
Sounds like a fucking threat.
I thought about counter-punishing you somehow.
Oh, God.
But then I was like...
Some 5-hour-long Japanese film.
And then I was like, no, I need to just... we need like a palate cleanser between
Okay.
us. So I decided to pick a movie that neither of us have seen,
All right.
but is of a genre that we love,
Mm-hmm.
and is a little more recent, because we've been hanging in the 80s for a little bit.
Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I agree.
So I don't know if you've heard much about this, but there's a little movie that's getting a lot of buzz right now from this year. Just recently came out. Directed by Curry Barker, who I think has done some other shorts, but I don't know about any other features. Milk and Cereal.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about this.
And that is cereal spelled like Serial.
The cereal you eat.
Making the pun.
Right.
Serial killer type thing, yeah.
Sure.
I'm just going to hit you with the synopsis real quick. A surprise birthday prank takes a turn for the worse when a popular social media duo must face the reality of the terrifying aftermath.
See, that's a cool premise. I dig that.
Cool premise.
Are there any rats in it?
I don't know. I've not seen it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, like I said, neither of us have seen this. It's super new. It is found footage. It's on YouTube. Anyone can go watch it. You can watch it before we talk about it, or you can listen to us and then decide if you want to go in on it.
Hey, you don't have to buy some $40 Blu-ray or pirate something.
Yeah, this is getting buzz because it's being reviewed very well, and it only had a budget of $800.
That's pretty cheap.
So we like our low budget.
It is crazy what you can
effective.
do with like low, a low budget these days.
So even though it is only an hour, I think we'll have a lot to talk about just in like filmmaking and composition and stuff like that.
Cool. I look forward to it.
So it's out there. You can get at it, and then you can join us next time as we all discuss it.
All right.
See what we think about it.
Let's do it.
Otherwise, send us your recommendations, especially if you have a fun or funny animal attack related horror film. And you can hit us up on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, or you can email us at genreexposure@gmail.com. We're always happy to hear from you.
Please.
But otherwise, you have been listening to Genre Exposure.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.